All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly terrifying first-hand account of what happens when childhood affection mutates into a full-blown psychological thriller. We're going to trace a harrowing kidnapping and survival story that honestly feels like something straight out of a horror movie, but is presented here as a chilling lived experience. We are going to map out the exact anatomy of a stalker's obsession.
Just imagine hearing those exact words from your childhood best friend right before she locks you away. This sets the stage for a relentless cycle of obsession, manipulation, and desperate escape. You see, for our protagonist who goes by Brother Moo, this wasn't some romantic declaration. It was literally a life sentence pronounced by his childhood friend, Lin Xiaoxi. Her obsessive behavior had actually been brewing for years. I mean, we're talking about her swapping his drinks and even threatening him with a knife just to keep him away from other girls. But as we're about to see, that was just the prologue.
So how did we get here? Let's map this out. Childhood obsession, reaching adulthood, a sudden bankruptcy, a literal sale, and finally, the dungeon. The catalyst here is absolutely shocking. Brother Moo thought that reaching adulthood meant freedom, But instead, on the exact day he turned 18, his own mother, who was facing sudden bankruptcy, effectively sold him to Lin Xiaoxi's family to settle her debts. No joke. The second he crossed the threshold of her house, the possessiveness Lin Xiaoxi had held back for years just exploded. She forcefully stuffed her socks into his mouth, violently dragged him into her bedroom, and screamed that they had to stay together forever.
That brings us to Phase 1, total isolation. Her first move cut him off from the world completely. She created this environment where she was his only source of reality. Her methodology to enforce absolute dependence was chillingly precise. Step 1, she boards up all the windows in the house. Step 2, she cuts the telephone wires, telling him the outside world is too dangerous and only she can keep him safe. And then she really tightens the leash by setting these strict, fixed times for eating and sleeping, essentially erasing his autonomy overnight.
After an early escape attempt ended with her literally throwing him to the ground in a blind panic, Brother Moo realized fighting back physically wasn't going to cut it. So he had to adapt. He started playing a game of feigned surrender versus his internal reality. He projected complete submission. He'd tell her exactly what she wanted to hear, saying things like, "Actually, I don't want to leave either, you just scare me." While internally, his mind is just frantically calculating any possible way out.
But you can only walk that psychological tightrope for so long, right? It all boiled over into a violent confrontation. She grabbed a sharp kitchen knife and slowly advanced on him with this terrifying ultimatum. His back was completely pressed against the wall, nowhere to run. Honestly, the only thing that saved his life was a neighbor who heard the commotion and called the cops. The police broke down the door and dragged her away, but even then, her eyes remained locked on him, whispering that everything she did was for him.
Which leads us right into Phase 2, the illusion of remorse.
Now, you'd think the cops showing up would be the end of the nightmare, wouldn't you? Well, not even close. Police intervention was just the start of a terrifying new cycle of false hope. From inside the facility, Lin Xiaoxi weaponized his own empathy against him. She used very specific manipulation tactics to trick the authorities and slowly lower his guard. We're talking incredibly sincere letters. She faked mental stability so perfectly that the doctors and police actually gave her an early release for good behavior. And when she showed up at his door with flowers, she played the role of the docile, helpful partner to a T, cleaning the house, cooking dinners. It was an absolute masterclass in performance. But the whole facade came crashing down one afternoon. He gets home from work, walks through his front door, and finds his room completely transformed. There was zero ventilation. The walls were covered from floor to ceiling with pictures of him. It was a literal dungeon. Lin Xiaoxi, dressed all in white, just smiles and delivers this chilling line before pulling out an iron chain to bind him. So once again, he has to rely on his tactic of feigned surrender just to survive long enough for another police raid to finally break him out.
And this takes us into Phase 3, collateral damage.
Because this stalker's net, it didn't just catch him. It started dragging innocent bystanders into the crossfire. Brother Moo tried to build a new life across the city, but the nightmare followed. One day, walking home and feeling that oppressive weight of being watched, he ducks into a dark alley. He ends up befriending a local homeless man there, someone who is mentally unstable but intensely protective. When Lin Xiaoxi inevitably tracks Brother Moo down and corners him on the street, this homeless man, who actually recognized the pain of crazy obsession from his own past, physically blocks her path. He tackles her to the ground, screaming for Brother Moo to run.
And that brings us to this incredibly chilling quote.
The horrifying, ambiguous fate of this protector really highlights the sheer ruthlessness of her pursuit. Because later, after another capture, Brother Moo asks her what she did to the man who saved him, and she says this so lightly, like they're talking about the weather. The homeless man was just gone. The stakes were higher than ever.
Unfortunately, the collateral damage didn't stop there. Enter his good friend Lince. After Brother Moo manages to escape again, he gets cornered at Lince's apartment. Lince bravely tries to step in, telling Lin Xiaoxi you can't just force someone to stay with you. Her response? She pulls a knife. A violent struggle breaks out. Lince gets stabbed in the arm, and the police arrive just in time to arrest Lin Xiaoxi for a second time.
So she's arrested again. But here is where we get a massive mind-bending pivot. While in custody, she sends more letters. Brother Moo goes to visit her, and she completely breaks down. She tells him this super tearful story about her strict, abusive father who cut off her money and basically forced her into these extreme behaviors. Moved by guilt and pity, Brother Moo actually bails her out. He brings her home, setting up this terrifying question. Was that trauma real, or was he walking right back into the spider's web?
Let's look at Phase 4, the father's dark secret.
We finally get the answer to whether she had changed, and it didn't come from her. Brother Moo started noticing her acting shady, so he follows her to this suburban villa and secretly watches her arguing with an older man. It turns out that was her father. Brother Moo ends up running into him on the street, and her dad just completely dismantles her entire story. He reveals that her tears, the remorse, the cooking and cleaning, all of it was a calculated performance. She only reconciled with Brother Moo to prove to her dad that she could hold down a normal relationship, purely to secure his financial support. There was no rehabilitation whatsoever. To her, it was literally just a financial transaction.
So Brother Moo goes back home. His mind is just racing, spinning in absolute chaos. He's sitting on the sofa, she's happily washing dishes in the kitchen, and his phone buzzes. It's a frantic text message from her father. Boy, run away quickly. That was the final warning. The temperature in the room just instantly dropped. Right after that text, her phone rings, presumably her dad. And the second she turns around, the mask is just gone. Her face is completely dark. Her eyes are cold and strange. Confronted with the fact that her ultimate lie has been exposed, that icy stalker demeanor snaps right back. She smashes a glass vase on the floor, screaming with this out-of-control rage, and triggers the final, most desperate chase of this entire nightmare.
This sets off Phase 5, the endless hunt.
What followed was just a pure, adrenaline-fueled sprint for survival. Brother Moo bolts out of the apartment building, dodging traffic, completely abandoning any sense of direction just to get away from her hysterical screaming. It turned into this relentless, maze-like pursuit through the dark city alleyways. Every single shadow was both a hiding place and a potential trap. He manages to duck into an abandoned warehouse, but he hears her footsteps coming, so he forces himself into this cramped, rusted iron locker. He's holding his breath, just listening to the echoes of her steps getting closer and closer on the warehouse floor. Suddenly, those footsteps stop, right in front of his locker. The rusted door slowly creaks open and he is met with this absolute nightmare of a sentence. Her eyes are shining with this sick, triumphant emotion. She grabs him, pulls him out, and hugs him so tightly it feels like she's trying to mold him into her own body. Pushed way past his absolute limit, Brother Moo physically fights back. He shoves her hard, she stumbles, and he sprints right back out into the pitch-black night. The entire explainer basically culminates in this incredibly suffocating moment. He sprints into this decaying, abandoned building filled with peeling walls. He scrambles up the stairs, curls into a pitch-black corner of the hallway, and breathes as shallowly as humanly possible. All while listening as Lin Xiaoxi meticulously kicks open the doors of every single room on the floors below him, screaming his name into the dark. And you know, that is exactly where the source material leaves us, huddled in the dark, suspended in pure terror. Leaving us with this final, incredibly chilling question about the terrifying extremes of human obsession. How do you escape a nightmare when the person hunting you honestly believes that keeping you locked away is simply an act of destiny and love? It's a stark reminder of the darkest corners of human psychology. Keep your eyes open out there, folks.